before we talk too much more about the facial rejuvenation exercise, today I want to talk a little bit about the 5 elements, because that is actually another big foundational piece to understanding Qigong and Chinese medicine. Especially now that we've done all the Golden 8 exercises, I do want to sort of connect some of the philosophical underpinnings with the exercises. And, we've been talking also about foods and stuff. So adding the 5 elements really will help you guys understand these a little bit better. So first I'm going to pull up. Where is that? I'm going to pull up the 5 elements just so we're on the same page. Okay. So hopefully all of you can see that. You'll see these 5 elements, and starting at the top, we have wood. Okay. So wood. So we have what's called a generating cycle. Okay. Basically, one element creates the next, and this is the clockwise, going clockwise here according to this image. So first we start with wood. Wood is in terms of seasons, wood is the springtime. That's kind of the start of the year, right? And then wood generates the next element, which is fire. Okay, so fire in seasons is summertime. Okay, and then from fire we create earth. Earth in terms of seasons, right? Because typically we have 4 seasons. Earth we see as both the transition between each season, as well as we look at that as late summer as well. So fire transitions into earth, and then earth creates metal. Okay, so metal, according to seasons, is the fall season. Okay, so you can see it kind of makes sense, right? At least chronologically, as the year progresses. Fall then becomes winter. And winter is the element of water in Chinese medicine. Okay, so there we have the 5 elements, and of course water then goes back to wood. So winter goes back to spring. Now, how does this relate to the Golden 8, you may ask? Okay, so Golden 8, we've been doing exercises for different organ systems. And the organ systems themselves are each correspond to an element. Okay, so everything in the world, we've talked about yin and yang. Okay, we can sort of break down everything that we see, that we experience, into yin or yang, okay, and that relationship. We can also break this down into 5 elements. So everything has an energetic element. So basically what they represent in life. So for example, wood represents like the springtime when things sprout to life, new beginnings, okay? And then water is kind of the end. So that's kind of like for us, like death and contemplation and going inward, okay? So just some examples. We're going to talk more about 5 elements as we go, but I want to lay down some foundational understanding of the 5 elements, and then we can build upon that. So let's go back to Golden 8 and how this relates. So, for example, the first exercise that we do, Reach for Happiness, that's a lung and large intestine exercise. Now, what element is lung and large intestine? In Chinese medicine, that's the metal element, okay? So we don't do it, so you may wonder, like, why don't we do it in sequence? Now, in Qigong, we typically start with a lung large intestine exercise because the lungs, the function of the lungs are so important for the body, right? Because if you can't breathe well, you're gonna die in a few minutes, all right? And for most of us, if we're not breathing well each breath, that means we're not nourishing the rest of our body properly with energy, okay? Or just as a basic oxygen. So the first exercise we do is related to the metal element, that's lung and large intestine. The second exercise we do, okay, that's the Archer exercise, and that's more related to the heart and small intestine, okay? And what element is that? That's fire, Okay. Third exercise, which one is third exercise? That's the between heaven and earth. Okay. And we typically do that exercise for the spleen and stomach. And spleen and stomach organs are related to the earth element. All right, so let's move on to the fourth exercise. Fourth exercise, turn and look back. That exercise is also another fire exercise, okay? That's related to the triple burner, okay, and the pericardium. So that's another fire one. Number 5, moving on to number 5. Hopefully you guys aren't getting too inundated with information, but hopefully this starts to connect you, right? Because hopefully you guys all been doing the Golden 8, so you're like, aha, okay, I know this one's for which element. All right, so number 5, okay, that's the twist and release. And this one is related to liver and gallbladder organs, and that's related to the wood element. Okay, that's the one at the top. All right, moving on to number 6. We have one organ left we haven't covered. Okay, number 6, the Bend for Health exercise. That's really good for the kidneys and the bladder. And that's a water element. All right, so for the first 6 exercises, you've covered all of the elements in Chinese medicine. Okay, so depending on which element you need, and elements relate to not just the organs, okay, and not just the seasons, but they relate to emotions, for example. So what's the emotion of, let's go back to the top of the chart here, wood. The emotion of wood is anger and passion, okay? And fire, what's the emotion of fire? Fire, we say, is joy and mania, okay? Too much joy or too little joy. And then from there, earth, what's the emotion of earth, okay? We look at that as worry, people who worry too much, okay? And also the emotion of sympathy, people who take care of other people. And then metal is the emotion of sadness, loss, but also compassion. So one and the other, they're the yin and yang in a way, okay? And then the last emotion with water is the emotion of fear. Fear and wisdom. All right, so there you have the 5 elements of emotions. Now you know the 5 elements related to the Qigong exercises that we've been doing, the Golden 8, and how they relate to the seasons as well. And so you can see how everything is really interconnected to each other. And we can break it down into like 5 elements of like taste, 5 elements of personalities, okay? So there's a lot of different ways that we can look at life. And the beauty is that, like, we use this in Chinese medicine as a diagnostic tool to help understand what's maybe out of balance, what we want to treat, what we want to focus on. So it's a really great way to break things down and understand what's going on within somebody or something in the world that's happening. All right, so I'm going to leave you guys with that as our Qi chat for the day. Hopefully that's a lot of information to sort of process. What I do also want to encourage you to do is practice the facial rejuvenation because we haven't explained a lot about it yet. I did explain a little bit about which ones are really good for, you know, your nose or your sinuses. But I really encourage you guys to practice and sort of feel what your body's telling you about these exercises, okay? So I do like to explain them to you guys, but at the same time, there's a lot of wisdom that you already internally know. We're really just bringing things out in your body. And so the more that you can sort of communicate directly with your body and hear what's telling you in the facial rejuvenation exercises, for example, like which one's good for what? Like when you're doing this, what are you feeling? Like what is happening to you? What are you feeling as the benefit for it? Okay, so before we get to the point where I'm going to explain these to you, exercise by exercise, I want you to get some ideas of what these do. Okay. All right, cool. So thank you for joining us. I hope you guys got some stuff out of this Chi Chat. We'll be continuing to do this on the weekdays after Mary Frances does the practice for us.